Hey, welcome everybody, and hello, my fellow environmental scientist from Ely, Minnesota. Welcome to my end of semester synthesis PowerPoint on what did I learn. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I learned and some of the big ideas from this semester's environmental science course. So here we go. What did I learn? To be completely honest, a lot. This class provided a lot of information as far as like where our world is at currently in the state of things, how the climate change and human activity is affecting it. Thanks to the Critical Thinking weekly news assignments for that. So those ones have been awesome. They are things that like I may not otherwise have read or thought about. So that has like really made my brain work, made me think a lot about what the kind of things are that are going on in today's world. It also incorporated a lot of like the other things I'm studying right now, namely my sociology course. That tied in a lot of different concepts that we've been working on, especially like human population and how that affects the environment. The sociology class I'm in touch based on that, and it's pretty cool to like be able to tie like some different concepts from different classes together. So yeah. So as far as this class goes, my ideas of how the environment, how those ideas have changed, it kind of opened up to me just exactly what kind of situation we are in as a species, as a planet. There's a lot going on that, frankly, we are doing, again, as a species to our planet. This book, this class really kind of opened up just to what level that is at. But it also revealed to me like a lot of opportunities that we have as a group to get better and to do things that can improve the situation that we're currently putting ourselves in. Excuse me. And on that topic, how my concept of science and environmental science has changed. It is a very broad topic, but it's one that just about anybody can do. I think that's like the biggest thing I've learned from this class. Every week, we got those weekly emails that welcomed us as hello environmental scientists. And I thought that was really cool that, we as people doing our thing in our lives can also consider ourselves, environmental scientists simply for the fact that we are studying environmental science. So I thought it was pretty cool, and that's definitely changed my perception of science a little bit, and that you don't have to be the guy wearing a lab coat or something like that to be considered a scientist. So jumping into some of the big ideas that I took away from this class, the kind of bigger concepts that I'm going to cover in the next couple of slides. Renewable energy, the undeniable climate change versus politics, something that I really enjoyed reading about in like the weekly news assignments. Human population and the climate and the planet's reliance on all kinds. Otherwise, what we talked about as biodiversity. So here we go. Renewable energy. All of these are very possible. Wind power, solar power, hydropower, all of them are currently active in the world, but it is something that we can definitely push to make bigger, better. Wind power, like we talked about during that unit, during that chapter, I should say, is something that, like, especially in the coastal areas, can become much, much bigger. And like as the technology increases, or just as they are implemented, or if people are okay with them being put in, I think the example of like them being off the coast kind of like hindered the view for some people. So if people start learning that it is okay to put those in, or there's places to put them in that are better, renewable energy like wind and solar can take over, and as fossil fuels hopefully get pushed out as they are dirty sources of energy, we can definitely keep improving where we get our power from, because we have wind, we have solar, it's natural, it's there, happening all the time, and it's something that I definitely think we should capitalize on. The book somewhere said that by 2050, the majority of U.S. power could be solar if the right moves are made. So I thought that was really cool, and definitely something that I took away from this semester. So undeniable climate change versus politics, something that I think a lot about and read a lot about is politics, and how climate change is a big thing in politics, and the headlines more and more every day. It pops up in like my news feed, whether it's on like Facebook or like my email or whatever. It pops up a lot. It is unfortunately something that politicians and people debate about. I don't believe that it is something that is debatable. There's like overwhelming evidence that it's a thing, and something that we need to pay attention to, and something that we need to push for. Environmental legislation, things that keep the environment in mind, so that it becomes a focus of not just like people like us, but like the whole population. And the one example that I had was the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her Green New Deal. Although not perfect, and although like it was kind of a big deal, it's I think a step in the right direction. The fact that like made headlines was pretty awesome. That there is legislation being pushed for things like that. So human population and the climate. So like I wrote here, the intertwining factors of population, economics, demographics, climate change, and human health. How all of those things, play a part in climate change and like our health as a species. I thought it was really very interesting that all of those different factors play a role in everything that's going on. As like the human population increases and like the economics change, demographics change, it affects climate change and that changes, and then like we as humans, individual or population, have our health affected by that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really very interesting. And again, like I mentioned earlier, my sociology class really tapped into those topics, specifically like the demographics, and how different like social classes and different demographics of people, race, religion, things like that, affect populations, and then in turn affect health, and then in turn affect like economics and climate change, and it all ties together. It was an awful lot, and I thought it was really interesting how all those things that at once upon a time I kind of split apart in my mind as different topics, all actually blend together quite a bit. So I thought that was really cool, and definitely, again, one of the topics that I'm taking away from this class. So the planet's reliance on all kinds, biodiversity. We talked a lot about it. I think like seeing all these like different parts of nature. I actually even this morning took a bunch of fourth graders out on a nature hike through the woods here in Minnesota, which is really awesome. And I did the tour with another guy I work with, and he pointed out a lot of different trees and a lot of different animals, and stuff like that. And no matter what, everything plays a role in the ecosystem, no matter how big, no matter how small. It has evolved to this point, to where it has a place in the environment around it, whether it is food for something bigger or it's a plant that provides food for something else. It is everything, or it fits in with everything, I should say. And the biodiversity that we have is something to be appreciated and hopefully preserved, as efforts are made to continue to preserve biodiversity in our world. So how will I incorporate what I have learned this semester into my life? I'd like to think I kind of have a new level of mindfulness after all of this, keeping in mind like the things that are going around and how large of a scope it really is, as far as environmental science and like climate change. Education is something I hope to continue to pursue. I mentioned like taking the fourth graders out on a tour of the woods and checking out stuff out there. I'm hoping to continue to like educate people, whether they are fourth graders or high schoolers or other adults, to educate them on like what this stuff is about. I wrote professional question mark because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going, but after this semester I am moving on to an outdoor recreation major elsewhere, and I'm hoping to at some point get into some kind of like entity like U.S. Forest Service, National Park Service, where I can continue to work in the outdoors and work with the environment, and hopefully make an impact that way. And appreciation, just kind of a newfound appreciation for what we've got and what I'm able to see and what I'm able to do outside and in the environment, as well as an appreciation for like where we are at, as far as like managing the climate change and our actions with that. Appreciating that there are efforts being made, that there's a lot more to do, obviously, but appreciating that there are people out there making an effort to hopefully save what we do have and make things better. So where do we go for here? What is next? Like I said in the last slide, I think education is huge. I think educating people, making moves, like I talked about a couple slides ago, as far as like politics go, like keeping people in mind, that are keeping the environment in mind, that want to put that at the front of what they prioritize. So what is next is keeping that stuff in mind and knowing full well that we have potential to make things better. But at the same time, if we don't make moves and we don't, go to action, it's not going to happen. So I think keeping that in mind and keeping the environment in the forefront of my mind is definitely what is my next move there. And last but not least, to wrap this up, thank you all for an awesome semester. Thank you, Mr. Q, for giving us a lot of information, a lot of stuff to think about. It's been awesome. This has been a cool final project. I don't think I've ever done anything like this, and it's been really cool to do and to read a little bit and review on the semester. So I've learned a heck of a lot. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. And you guys take care. Thanks, guys.